Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my first recording, my first attempted video here on YouTube. This is going to be a little tour of my Fallout 4 settlement. I would like to thank Paul over at School Zone. That's SKOOLZONE. He is on YouTube. If you play Fallout 4 or you ever intend to play Fallout 4, I recommend his videos. He he unlocks an awful lot of the secrets to using the game engine, or the build engine within the game in order to create some really marvelous things. This settlement, as you will see, would not have been possible without the use of his tips and tricks. I'll say up front that my settlement here is not about cleverness or gimmicks, but it's very simply about architecture and atmosphere, something I've tried to create. So first off, when most people do a settlement tour, they never show you their character. So allow me to briefly introduce my character. I've done an awful lot of different characters here in this game. This is Miss Morgan, she is of Germanic descent, according to my storyline, being an Ivy League law school graduate and having history as part of her curriculum. She understands the necessity of the system of feudalism, since most of the settlers show up here with nothing but the clothes on their backs. All they really have to offer is their human labor. So she creates a settlement to provide these settlers with the necessities and means of defense and safety and some comfort, and perhaps even some career paths. She uses all this this is all in exchange for their labor. So let's go ahead and move on to the settlement then, shall we? Zoom in. This is my settlement. Hello, Mr. Cotswold. As you can see, I have used some of the junk fences, and thanks to our friend Paul over at School Zone, I was actually able to use junk fences. I've never been able to use them before, but he's shown us how to do it, how to connect them, and it works very well. And with the advent of those junk fences, I actually get to use this front gate, which I've never been able to really do successfully before. The very front of the settlement, I used concrete in order to alleviate the strain on the wood resource. If you look at the settlement, there's an awful lot of wood being used here. Something along the lines of 15 to 20,000 wood units alone. And this is not including the steel, rubber, and all the various different kinds of resources that were used to build it. We move on in. This first area we come into is fairly open. The street narrows up a little bit by design further on up. But here, this is a place where if anyone gets into the front gate, it's quite a shooting gallery, so it's left fairly open. In this game, there's a little bug when you put up spotlights and you leave the settlement, the light shuts off. They keep moving and rotating, but they shut off. And so they don't really function. They just kind of stand there. And Paul showed us a little trick with this interval switch. Every 10 seconds, the lights reset, and so it keeps them moving and working. On occasion, when a raider shows up, a group of raiders shows up, and one doesn't go hostile, he'll wander into the settlement willy-nilly as he pleases, and these spotlights help to detect him and shut him down before he gets into the settlement. Paul also showed us how to completely restore roofs on this, in this game, but especially in this particular settlement. However, I opted not to do the full roof restore. I'll show you what I do here really quick. I don't attempt to cover or repair the original rooftops. They're not very attractive. This is what Bethesda gives us to work with. Instead, I'd rather have a wide open area that I can run around and function in. This is actually very defensible. and I use the scaffoldings to get the guns up above the railing. These tall ones because I can walk under them. They don't block my movement. And so one can easily defend and so on. The bridge here, well, I have pretty much connected the roofs of every pre-existing house on the settlement. So you can run around the top here over the whole thing, and we can run through that a little bit later. The houses, when the settlers first come in here, they tend to wander around the settlement. They sit in the living room, they sit inside the houses and sip their drink and have a seat and whatever. So I put in little living rooms for people to walk around. They can enjoy a little bit of privacy. For the most part, though, the settlement houses are used for storage. On occasion, I'll fix up a room for somebody, mostly for the VIPs. This warehouse you see here, this is atypical of my architectural style. I do an overhanging roof and a shelf around the middle on which to put defenses and guns, that sort of thing. Additional defenses can be put by adding shelves on the edge of the roof. All four sides of the roof are downward sloping. As trying to put a facade on the roof tends to looks huge and bulky, and it doesn't look good. But like that works quite well. You can see by the stairway on the side that you can get up to the top there, and it's fenced off. Useful for a couple of things. We'll explore the inside of that building a little bit later. Let's go ahead and move on in. Once we get under the bridge here, things narrow in a bit by design. First of all, you'll note there's little plants planted everywhere. I'd like to do a shout out for Ken at work. He and I discussed he plays and he and I discussed the game at length. And he made a suggestion that I should use something called the pillar glitch to drop the plants below the surface of the ground so the pots don't show. That works pretty good. I'll tell you what, it wasn't for Paul's pillar glitch and his rug glitch, this settlement would not have been possible at all. We go into the first house here. Okay, again, living room, more storage. This is pretty atypical of what I do. Storage, and on occasion we have someone's room. This is the Piper suite. Piper Wright lives here. Oh, one more thing. Paul, thank you for showing us how to do doors. Most of these frames a door will not snap into. You have to use a little trick to get them to install, but they do install. Little tables in the backyard. I put it out here. I put it in place of one of the street lights, which as you can see, I line the street with it. It really adds a nice feel, especially at night. We'll look at one more house here. Again, living room. This one is just storage. Nothing important. But you come into these houses and sit down and relax, bring a date. Yeah, whatever works. The bus here, you can see this is a large gap between the houses. And my electric gates are fairly straightforward and simple. I really don't use the double-sided gate little mod that Paul showed us how to use. Paul has an awful lot of good ideas. If you're going to play this game, you really got to go look up Schooled Zone on YouTube and then watch some of his videos. Usually, if I'm in the back side of this, I have power on with the jetpack. I just jump over the thing. I really don't need the big switch mod there. And of course, we furnished the bus a little bit. On the top of the bus, we have the bridge that connects the roofs, and that worked out pretty well. This over here is the Stop and Go Bar and Grill. I'm not going to go through the middle of it just yet. We'll tour it a little bit later. As you can see, the patio area, I bring that out to the sidewalk. The idea was to bring as much out to the sidewalk as possible to give the whole thing kind of a cozy neighborhood feel. Such as in the as is the case with these water purifiers. Also used the Ruglich to bring these in from the river. These normally install in water, but once I install them, I use the Ruglich to bring them out here. This is a water farm, and I'm pulling in about 450 units of water per day, which I can certainly create more, but that seems to be sufficient for my needs. As we go further up the street, we see the lovely and irrepressible trash can Carla. Love that name. For her, I created the Carlaport. She's forever standing out here in the sun and the rain and night and day. When she comes to town, she's usually standing there for about 2 days, and I took pity on her and decided to give her some relief from the weather. I have attempted to give her chairs, stools, whatever to sit on, and it's not her programming. She doesn't do it. So, on to the next item here. This is the first settler house, the one with the shop and all the equipment. So this is usually the first one to be built. The inside of this is just furnished with stuff found around the settlement, with the exception of pictures. And of course, I give my settlers nice beds instead of the rundown junk that you find. And the rubber mats, of course. Once I put in the extended roof, I found I could just snap the walls on and then snap the flooring, concrete flooring onto that, and I extended this patio workshop area, which has a really nice homey feeling to it.
Nice like this.
It's kind of nice. Oddly enough, the big feature here is this big empty floor. I can dump my junk here and process it, break it down to its simplest elements. The little divider wall here keeps the buckets and balls from bouncing everywhere. This couch allows me to sit and wait for Carla to show up when I need to buy some stuff. And this little opening here forces people walking through to go through this little area, and it keeps them from walking diagonally through an area where I've got junk all my junk dumped out, and they walk through and they kick it everywhere, and it's kind of frustrating. So this controls that.
Never thought a reporter could consider themselves
Head on out here.
someone threatening their life. Me?
Well, now let's discuss some architecture. This building, this floor, the basic floor plan is 3 by 4 floor tiles. I'm sorry, this one's 3 by 5. I adapted the size to this particular settlement, but the idea was to come up with a universal building, a kind of multi-purpose structure that I could drop into any settlement. Let's take for example Abernathy Farm. I have dropped a 3 by 4 floor plan building into Abernathy Farm. The first floor is basically a living room, a place for the NPCs to relax, and I put in a bar. This increases the settlement happiness and entertainment value. The middle floor is where I put dorms to sleep. Top floor, actually put in a gymnasium with a clinic. Also raises the happiness level. On the very top is where I grow crops. I have never had my crops damaged by an attack by putting the crops up on the roof. And I'll show. Let's do that real quick. I'll show you how that works. Note, the original pumps I first put in when I started the settlement, I have not removed. I do that. I do not like to try and scrap or recycle anything because you never get the same resources out of it that you put into it. So I tend not to remove things, but to leave them. Okay, this living room is furnished with the stuff that came with the settlement. There's a back room there with a little machine, an additional machine shop, because I've extended this floor plan. I have room for that. But normally I would put the bar here. I didn't do it here because this is a big settlement. I've got lots of room. You'll note I also have 2 entrances and 2 stairwells. NPCs like to stand and bladle. They'll hang out on the stairs and block the stairs, and then you can't get up or down. So I put in 2 sets of stairs and everything. That way they don't raise my blood pressure while I'm trying to get where I'm going. I typically set up my dormitories like this. 1 floor tile per customer. I set them all up kind of cookie cutter, just like this. Put up a few pictures, a radio and a chair and some decorative plants, and they're all kind of like this. And quite often, double occupancy. It helps get rid of the claustrophobic feel of a single room like this. It's kind of cramped. Let's go upstairs. And then if you do something like this and you put up a lot of equipment, the exercise equipment, after they're done with work, they hang out in the lounge and they have a drink, have a beer or a ice cold glass of Rad Roach juice, and then they come up here and they work out. And they hang out on the benches, listen to music. Excuse me. After which, they go to bed. Now, in this type of structure, where the roof overhangs the wall, the joint inside looks funny, where the wall meets the roof. So I put a half-floor tile all the way around the edge. This is the most economical way to hide that. It's not perfect, but actually visually works quite well. And then the mesh ceiling lets me see all of the rafters and the trusses and everything, which I like. And it gives me a place to hang light fixtures. That works pretty well. I've always liked putting balconies on tall buildings. This gives a really nice view, and it's very defensible. So we can see the things we put in. This outdoor lounge here was originally just supposed to be a bridge to connect to that roof, with that one over there. But since it went right next to the tree, it looked kind of cool just by itself, but it was right next to the tree, so I threw some floorboards up and some wood railings, and it had a nice feel to it. So I went ahead and decorated it. And lo and behold, I always hated these Raider awnings. I hate these things. I can't use them for anything. Lo and behold, I found a use for them. This whole thing actually created a sense of ambiance here. And it looked so good, I left it alone. I didn't mess with it. If we run down the hallway here and we go up on the top, as you can see, this is where I
need to be alone right now.
Flooring on top of the roof, so I can connect railing to it. And I grow 24 units of groceries up here, and some agriculture up here. And this particular combination of plants allows me to make adhesive, so that works quite well. And you just have to love the view. Works very nicely. Let's run down the stairs. This windmill generator, again, I put it in when I first built the initial settler house. This gave me electricity for lighting, but I won't tear it down, and I won't recycle it, because I take a loss in resources when I do it. I think it's inefficient. So I never recycle items I've already built if I can avoid it. Here's another example of the junk fence. Note, I don't do the junk fence around the back of the houses. I just connect the houses. So the houses are used as a wall, which is why the back areas tend to be filled with junk. Another example, and Mr. Sheffield lives here. I consider him a VIP character, so give him a nice place to live. You can see from here that the treehouse lounge, I really wanted to avoid the idea of building a tree house per se. I just think it's so passé and so overdone. I don't want to do it. Kind of rather shoot myself in the foot with a nail gun than put up another treehouse. The base here, wasn't sure what to do with it at first, but a couple of lanterns, some of those sunken plants, and a bench here and there, and the rocks created a kind of a feng shui kind of feel to it, and it worked really well. It looks really cool. And this is the clinic. The pharmacist is in bed right now. He's asleep. It's a waiting area. And room for surgery, haircuts, storage. Back here in the back is kind of a break room with some more storage. There's some things in this game, since there are no mods, there's some things you can't really get rid of. So, you make the best of them as best you can. Next stop on the grand tour, this 4-story monstrosity is the player house. Let's go take a look. I'm going to position myself up here so we can get a better look at it. Okay, clearly I build robots here. There's Miss Piper. Hello, Piper. The robots can't seem to find their way out the front door, so I had to put the big sliding door in so they could have a chance at exiting, and they still walk into the walls, but what the heck. And then a few more machines up on the second floor. This allows me to have access to the machines when I need them without the NPCs getting in the way. This is the entry hallway. I always love these little tables here. They look junky, but when the NPCs sit there, they'll either be eating a steak or pull out a clipboard and do some work. And this is the bedroom. Nice place to sleep. And this area gives us a nice view of the lake, which you can't really see right now because it's foggy outside. I like the way the exterior plant adds to the interior look. That worked really well. I had clutter on top of the counters and the desks and everything, the tables, but it all fell through. Paul shows us a video on how to correct that. I didn't really have time to mess with that to get this video out on time, so later on I'll mess with it. Then we come up here to the bonus room. You have to love the fact that this pool table takes up so much room. It really fills the space. The pool cues kept falling through. They were sitting on the table and they fall through, so I just put them on a rack on the wall. And let's take a look at our balcony. Foggy, you can see down here by River's Edge, I put in a boardwalk and some shops. Those came out really nice. We're going to take a look at those here very shortly. And this whole area here looks really, really well. I'm very pleased with it. Lots of atmosphere. I'm very much into that sort of thing. Someone told me I should be an interior designer. And then there's a mechanic. Here's our gun shop. Guns R Us, the big kids' toy store. And our shopkeeper, she's a bodybuilder, totally. You can see her in a dress. She's got arms like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's kind of funny, actually. Lots of guns. I haven't done the Nuka World plug-in yet. So I found this really cool rifle here, and I can't get ammo for it until I go in and beat Boss Culture. So we'll go into the electrical area. This area I reserve. I just threw some stuff up here just so it didn't look empty for the video. But this is the area where I store all my power armor that I've managed to recover. Eventually, when I get more, I will begin repairing it. Once I reach the Adam Cat's garage, this is a new character, a new build for the settlement. So I don't have everything conquered yet in the game. And eventually, I'll have display racks and everything in this room for all the power armor, but that's what I've allocated that space for. When we go up here, this is the power room. Every time I needed a little more electricity for a missile launcher or a water purifier or whatever, I would drop another generator up here. All these generators plus the little windmill generator out on the initial settler house it runs us about 179 units of power, whatever you want to call those units. And this is now full. But again, I won't tear. Now that I can actually make cold fusion generators, I will not tear these down. They are here permanently. I don't like to recycle. It took a lot of sacrifice to build all those generators, so I leave them alone. Let's head on down to the boardwalk, shall we? God, I love the plants. It totally makes the atmosphere go pop here. Okay. On this end of the boardwalk, we have a small warehouse. The idea for this is that this space, right between the buildings, is just big enough to put in the molecular relay, and when we get to that main part of the main quest. The tables and chairs can then be moved inside the warehouse, along with the the control panel that can sit just inside the warehouse, and there's a hookup for power for it. These light posts can be moved out of the way, and they can also provide power. And then up on the top of this, we can put the little antenna dish, and it also has power. And we have a couple missile launchers up here. It's a great view from up here. I love this. So let's meander over to the shops. I have these water filtration units all over the place, but I tried not to get too carried away with them. There's room to fit a lot more, but I really didn't want the place to look too gaudy. Commonwealth Armor. Simple shop. My usual roof treatment. And I tried to do something with these little breezeways in here. General Junk. Sounds like a military rank. Now this place, the junk shop is always my favorite. You know, when you do this up the right way, it has that musty, dusty feeling you get when you walk into an old pawn shop. And for this, I didn't put the mesh roof up. Instead, I used the roof treatment as shelving, and it gives it a really nice effect. And yes, the disco ball is for sale. And old clothiers for old clothes, of course. You know, the Vault-Tec guy never sleeps. Maybe he's a simp. I don't know. There's the river. And this little walkway is preserved so that Mr. Preston Garvey can walk his usual route. We'll go back out here to the street, and we can pretty much wrap this up. Okay, to the warehouse. If we come in here, it was just a room full of crates and boxes. When I put the pillars in, that actually sort of made the room go pop. And there's a desk for the clerk. You come upstairs, and this is where I manufacture. I do this in a fairly simplistic fashion, and you can see there is my nuclear generator. I finally got the point where I could build those, and these machines, if you turn them all on at the same time, it's quite a power draw. I really need the extra juice. I choose not to put a storage unit on the end of these machines, these builder machines. Instead, I really love the bathtub. This one's just about ready to overflow. I just love it when these things overflow all over the floor. And Kate comes along and kicks the boxes everywhere. I just get such a kick out of that. I thought sure I'd get this one to overflow for you, but look at that. Oh, we're just there.
My onboard functions are operating at full capacity.
So that's for manufacturing. Set on down. Close the door behind us. Back up to the street. Behold the morning breaks. We'll head on into the bar here. Now this was intended, again, it's an atmosphere. Unfortunately, I don't have any mods in this contest, so I can't get rid of all the weeds. Take a kill for a weed eater right now. Just a nice little patio area, and then big, I've seen bars that do this for real. A big opening doors, and I've even put in piping pillars in order to facilitate the strength of the building. I think I was just being picky. Or OCD. Who knows? The second floor, usual dormitory treatment. This one has a nice balcony on it. Up a couple flight of stairs. Up here I put a few more dorms in to complete the requirements for my population. I left the one single unit out and in this nice living room. That's a nice touch. Stairs here. This is an empty one. Nothing up here. You can see the crops growing on top across the way. I can grow more crops here too. Sometimes I like to produce some Blanco mac and cheese. I can grow plenty of razor grain and carrots. I don't know why you need carrots for mac and cheese. Maybe they're specially mutated lactating carrots. I don't know. It's weird. But that's what you need to do. You're gonna make Blanco mac and cheese. Gives you a nice radiation-free, lightweight source of food. And, okay, and before we finish this up, let's just run up the stairs here and let's show them. Again, very defensible. We shoot bad guys from here. You can still run up on these nasty looking. And again, I connected them all. So they work quite well. So we'll just simple power posts seem to be the best way to have electricity. You don't need many of them, and they work, even though they
Another day of hard work. Another chance.
I've heard some people say that the reason settlement building in Fallout 4 is because the people of Bethesda are too lazy to put up original material. But I don't think so. I really love the whole idea. I think it worked really well. Some people can call it a failure if they want to, but I think it was a raving success because I love to build the settlements. To me, it's my favorite part of the game. So here we can see we can walk around. And if trouble strikes, you run up the stairs to the rooftop and head on over. And so we'll just walk down the street. And I always love the way the street looks when you walk down, especially at night. Everything's well lit, and it gives a kind of a feeling of safety. And so there we have it. There's my Sanctuary Hills Fallout 4 settlement. I hope you enjoyed the view, even though it was kind of lengthy. I appreciate your patience in viewing this. Feel free to leave comments. Please keep the language clean for the sake of family and children. And with that, have a great day. Peace out.